Mr Deputy President. Well, it's pretty telling, really, that it's the Labor Party who constantly sought to undermine the economy whilst in opposition at every opportunity, but now realise there's a lot of things out of their control, a lot of things that impact what happens in our economy occur globally, but that government is hard and that you actually have to be the ones to make decisions, to put in place policies. Now, on this side of the House, we don't ignore that there are global challenges, but what we're seeing from this new government is that with every decision they make a bad situation worse. Senator Gallagher stood in here today after long platitudes through the campaign from everyone who made an appearance, usually to tidy up Mr Albanese's recent gaffe through the campaign, but then to make a promise that they would guarantee that Australians would see real wage growth. We now know that that's not going to be the case, and that is now being acknowledged by the Treasurer himself. They ran smear after smear after smear, and we just heard them continuing against the Coalition's record whilst in government, but are now failing to live up to their own promises and guaranteeing Australians a real wage growth. The hypocrisy is unbelievable, but unfortunately not surprising. Now, as I just said, we know on this side of the chamber that not every problem in the economy lays at the feet of the government of either persuasion, not that you would ever give that grace when you were in opposition. But we will hold you accountable for how you respond to these challenges. But the fact of the matter is becoming increasingly clear that you have no plan. You keep reciting a plan, which is apparently a plan for a plan, but that does nothing to instil confidence in the Australian people that you will be there to support them and alleviate these current cost of living pressures that they're experiencing. And today we saw Senator Gallagher also walking away from Labor's promise to reduce power bills by $275. Now, I will acknowledge that Senator Gallagher is the first Labor minister who's perhaps moved off the talking points that did offer a guarantee to lower power prices, but actually articulating a figure seems to be beyond the scope of this new government. We've seen Senator Watt can't say a number, and Senator Gallagher here today could not mention the $275 reduction that was promised to all Australian households by the end of 2025. She talked about being honest with the Australian people, but danced her way around guaranteeing the exact figure. But again, the important thing here to note is for all of Labor's talk on easing the cost of living crisis during the election campaign, they don't have a plan to make this a reality. They don't understand how to address inflationary pressures. And I just note Senator Brockman's contribution of perhaps, like the West Wing, and they're taking their lead from Josh Lyman, that they've got a secret plan to fight inflation. Unfortunately, though, looking at those opposite and their performance over the last week and a half in this place, that they may actually be trying to emulate Veep more than the West Wing. Well, I'm sure there's a couple over there with the House of Cards rhetoric ready to go. There's someone who fancies themselves a Frank Underwood, but at the moment I think we're just seeing Veep being played out in each act. At least if they were following the West Wing episode by episode, we'd know what was coming next. We do know that some of them have a penchant, we might say, for plagiarising of speeches, so we should probably run a few of them via some of those checks to see how many West Wing lines they pull out as they make their presentations. But this is part of a broader pattern here. The Labor Party complained at the previous government that we weren't doing enough, things weren't happening, and they arrive in government with absolutely no plan to address any of the issues that they're facing. They complained about debt and then proposed to add more debt than the Coalition. They said real wage growth wasn't good enough under the Coalition. Now they refuse to guarantee Australians will see wage growth under their government and have acknowledged that is highly unlikely. They've also said that we refuse to address the cost of living crisis and have now broken their promise to reduce power bills by $275 for families and business. So, given Senator Gallagher's answers today, I can assume that there's a lot of Australians out there, a lot of small businesses, starting to have a look around, and that buyer's remorse might be starting to creep in. They might be seeing they've been sold a pup, because it's clear Labor has no feasible plan, drive up wages, reduce power bills, as they promised they would.
Senator Hughes.